It's 11:47 p.m. You're 23 years old. You have a laptop, a finance degree, and $94,000 in student loan debt. And you're staring at your inbox, refreshing it for the fourth time tonight, waiting for a reply from a company you applied to 6 weeks ago. The job listing said entry level. It required 3 years of experience, proficiency in Excel, Salesforce, and 2 certifications you had to pay for yourself. You did all of it. You tailored the resume. You rewrote the cover letter 11 times. You watched the LinkedIn tutorial on standing out in a crowded market. The reply never comes. Not because you weren't good enough. Not because the economy is slow. But because 3 weeks before you hit submit, the company quietly replaced that role with a $30 per month AI subscription. They never took the listing down. Let's rewind 2 years. You were told the formula. Everyone told you the same thing. Study hard. Get the degree. Build the resume. Apply early. Work your way up. So you did exactly that. You spent 4 years doing everything right. You took the unpaid internship, the one where you made coffee, formatted spreadsheets, and sat in on meetings you weren't allowed to speak in. You called it experience. You put it on your resume. You stayed late. Not because anyone asked you to. Because you believe that visibility creates opportunity. That's what the career counselor said. That's what your LinkedIn feed confirmed every single morning. Hard work compounds. Show up. Be consistent. Your time will come. You believed it. You built the portfolio. You learned the tools. You got the certifications. The ones that cost $400 each and expire in 2 years. You posted about it. You got 47 likes. 3 recruiters viewed your profile. None of them messaged you. But you stayed optimistic. You told yourself the market was competitive right now. You told yourself you just needed one shot, one callback, one person to see what you were capable of, so you kept applying. 50 applications, then 80, then 120. You started tracking them on a spreadsheet, color-coded, date-sorted, with columns for follow-up dates and contact names. You were organized, you were disciplined, you were doing everything they told you to do, and the number next to responses received stayed at 0. Here's what nobody told you. While you were optimizing your resume, the job was already gone. Not outsourced, not frozen, not put on hold due to budget constraints. Eliminated, quietly, permanently, with no announcement and no job posting update. The role you were applying for, the one that was supposed to be your entry point, your foot in the door, your first step on the ladder, was automated before you ever had a chance to interview for it. And the worst part? The company didn't even notice the difference. Let's talk about what's actually happening. Not the version they post about on LinkedIn. Not the AI as a tool, not a replacement narrative. The real version. In 2023, a McKinsey report estimated that up to 30% of hours worked across the U.S. economy could be automated by 2030. That number sounds abstract until you map it to specific job titles. Data entry clerk, gone. Junior copywriter, gone. Entry-level financial analyst, gone. Customer support associate, gone. Marketing coordinator, gone. These aren't hypothetical futures. These are roles that Fortune 500 companies have already quietly eliminated or are in the process of eliminating right now, while their career pages still list "we're hiring" at the top. Here's how the math actually works. A junior analyst at a mid-size firm costs a company roughly $58,000 per year in base salary alone. Add benefits, payroll taxes, onboarding, management overhead, you're looking at $80,000 to $95,000 per employee per year. Now look at the alternative. GPT-4 API access, the same technology that can write reports, summarize data, draft client emails, and build financial models, costs approximately $0. 0.3 per 1,000 tokens. A full workday of tasks? Under $5, not $5 per hour, $5 per day. You are not competing with another candidate from a better school. You are competing with a $5 per day subscription. And here's the part that should make your stomach drop. The companies aren't doing this because they're evil. They're doing it because they have to. The moment one competitor automates, every other company in the industry faces pressure to follow. It's not a choice anymore. It's a survival mechanism. And the roles disappearing first? They follow a very specific pattern. Economists call it task-based displacement. AI doesn't eliminate jobs randomly. It targets tasks, specific, repeatable, definable tasks, and the jobs with the highest concentration of those tasks are entry-level roles. Think about what a junior employee actually does on day one. They format reports. They respond to templated emails. They pull data from spreadsheets and organize it into slides. They summarize meeting notes. They proofread documents. They research competitors and compile findings into a brief. Every single one of those tasks has already been automated. Not partially, not experimentally, fully, reliably, at scale. And here's the cruelest part of the system. Senior roles, the ones that require judgment, relationships, creative strategy, political navigation inside an organization, those are relatively safe. For now. But those roles were only ever accessible by climbing the ladder, by doing the entry-level work first, by proving yourself in the junior positions, by building institutional knowledge from the ground up. AI didn't just eliminate the jobs, it eliminated the pathway. The ladder isn't just missing a few rungs. The bottom of the ladder has been sawed off entirely. Gen Z is now entering a workforce where the traditional apprenticeship model, the learn by doing, start small, grow over time model that built every generation before them, no longer exists at scale. A 22-year-old with a marketing degree can't get hired as a marketing coordinator because the coordinator role was replaced by a prompt template and a $20 a month tool. But they also can't get hired as a marketing strategist because that role requires 5 years of experience they were supposed to get in the coordinator role. They are caught in a gap that the system created, and the system has no incentive to fix it. The companies aren't announcing this. There are no press releases that say we have eliminated 40 entry-level positions this quarter. Instead, the language is softer, strategic. We are streamlining operations. We are investing in AI-augmented workflows. We are focusing on high-impact talent. Translation, we automated the bottom of the org chart, and we are not rebuilding it. The numbers are already showing up in the data. Between 2022 and 2024, entry-level job postings dropped by over 35% across industries including finance, marketing, legal services, and media, the exact sectors that absorbed the most college graduates for the past 3 decades. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate for workers aged 22 to 27 with a bachelor's degree has risen faster than any other demographic since the mass adoption of generative AI tools began. This is not a recession. This is not a hiring freeze. This is a structural shift. And unlike a recession, which reverses when the economy recovers, a structural shift does not reverse. The jobs don't come back. The ladder doesn't rebuild itself. The system recalibrates. And it recalibrates without you in mind. You were told that education was the armor, that a degree was the key, that hard work was the path. But the path was redesigned while you were still walking it. But here's where the story splits. Because not everyone is drowning. Some people, same age, same degree, same starting point, are moving faster than any generation before them, getting hired, getting promoted, building leverage in a market that's supposed to be brutal, and they're not smarter than you. They're not luckier. They just understood the new rules before you did. Let's talk about the first shift. The people who are winning right now are not trying to compete against AI. They're operating it. There's a difference, and that difference is worth understanding precisely. A junior copywriter who writes blog posts manually is competing with a $20 a month tool that writes faster, never gets tired, and doesn't ask for benefits. That person loses, every time. But a 24-year-old who understands how to architect a content system, who knows how to prompt AI tools, edit outputs with editorial judgment, build automated workflows that produce 10x the output with 20% of the labor, that person isn't replaceable. That person is the multiplier. Companies aren't just looking for workers anymore. They're looking for people who can leverage the machine. The job title is changing. It used to be coordinator. Now it's AI-augmented operator. And the salary gap between those two roles is already widening, fast. Here's the second shift. The people moving up right now have stopped thinking about jobs. They've started thinking about problems. Old mental model. I need to find a company that will hire me for a role. New mental model. I need to find a problem that a company is hemorrhaging money on and show up with a solution. That's not motivational language. That's economics. When you apply for a job posting, you are one of 400 applicants competing for a slot that may or may not still exist. When you identify a specific, expensive problem inside a company and pitch a solution, you're having a completely different conversation. You're not a candidate anymore. You're a contractor, a specialist, a lever, a 23-year-old who cold emails a mid-size e-commerce brand and says, "Your abandoned cart email sequence is losing you an estimated $40,000 per month. I built a replacement using AI automation. Here's a live demo." That person doesn't need a resume. They need a rate card. The third shift is the hardest one to accept. The people who are building real leverage right now have abandoned the credential ladder entirely. Not education, not learning. The credential ladder. The idea that a certificate, a degree, a course completion badge, that these things signal value to the market in the way they used to. They don't, not anymore. In 2019, a Google certification in digital marketing was rare. It gave you an edge. In 2024, over 6 million people hold that certification. The signal is dead. The credential is noise. What the market is now responding to, rapidly, almost violently, is demonstrated output. Not I studied marketing. Not I have a certificate in data analysis. Here is the system I built. Here are the results it produced. Here is the revenue it generated. A portfolio of real, documented work, even if it was done for free, even if it was done for a small local business, even if it was a self-initiated project with no client at all, is worth more than a master's degree on a resume that 50,000 other people also have. And here's where the numbers start to change. The people who made this pivot early, who stopped optimizing for the old system and started building in the new one, are not just surviving. They're compressing timelines in ways that were previously impossible. A 25-year-old who builds an AI-powered lead generation system for a B2B software company doesn't spend 3 years as a junior coordinator before getting noticed. They get noticed in month 2, because the output is undeniable, because the ROI is measurable, because the machine doesn't lie about results. The income trajectory is also shifting. In the old model, a 22-year-old started at $42,000. Got a 3% raise annually, reached $65,000 by $30 if they were lucky and didn't get laid off. In the new model, for those who adapted, year 1, $0, learning, building, failing quietly. Year 2, $30,000 to $60,000. First clients, first systems, first proof. Year 3, $80,000 to $150,000. Leveraged income, retainers, scalable output. The curve isn't linear anymore. It's exponential. But only if you change the inputs. The hard truth is this. The market is not waiting for you to be ready. The companies restructuring right now, the ones quietly eliminating the entry-level pipeline, they are not going to pause and create a transition program for the generation they displaced. That has never happened in the history of industrial disruption. The steam engine didn't retrain blacksmiths. The internet didn't retrain travel agents. AI is not going to retrain the 22-year-old with a communications degree. The retraining has to come from you. The pivot has to be chosen, not assigned. And the window to be early, to be one of the people who figured it out before the crowd did, is not permanently open. Right now, in this specific moment, the gap between people who understand how to operate AI systems and people who don't is enormous. That gap is your opportunity. In 3 years, that gap will close. The tools will be commoditized. The skills will be taught in every online course. The edge will disappear, just like the Google certification did. But right now, the gap is real, and the gap pays. The question is whether you're going to spend the next 18 months refreshing your inbox or building something inside the gap. So here's where we land. No motivational music. No, you've got this outro. Just the truth. Let's say you make the pivot. You spend the next 12 months learning the systems. You rebuild your skill set around AI tools. You stop applying to job postings and start building output. You get your first client, then your second. The numbers start moving. By year 2, you're earning more than your peers who took the traditional path. By year 3, you have leverage they don't have and can't buy. You win by the metrics that matter in this economy. But here's what nobody puts in the success story. You will spend your 20s in a state of permanent self-reconstruction. Not occasional upskilling, not a weekend course every 6 months, permanent, ongoing, relentless reconstruction. Because the tools you master today will be commoditized in 18 months. The system you build this year will need to be rebuilt next year. The edge you develop now has an expiration date, and the expiration date keeps getting shorter. The treadmill doesn't stop. It accelerates, and the deeper trade-off, the one that doesn't show up in income reports or LinkedIn case studies, is this. You will become very good at operating in a world that was not designed for human flourishing. You will optimize, you will adapt, you will survive. But somewhere between the first pivot and the fifth, you will forget what you originally wanted to do. The 22-year-old who wanted to write, who went to school because stories mattered to them, is now an AI content systems architect billing $200 per hour. The money is real, the skill is real, the freedom is real. But the original thing? The reason you started? It's still in a Google Doc from 2021, unfinished, collecting digital dust. And now the other side. Let's say you don't make the pivot. Let's say you keep applying, keep tailoring the resume, keep waiting for the system to recognize the effort you've put in. Here's what that trajectory looks like. Not as a warning, but as data. The entry-level job market contracts further every 18 months as adoption of generative AI accelerates across industries. The roles that remain become increasingly competitive, not because there are more qualified candidates, but because there are fewer roles absorbing more applicants. The credential inflation continues. The master's degree that was supposed to differentiate you is now the new baseline. The PhD is the new master's degree. In fields where 3 years ago a bachelor's was sufficient, the debt stays. The opportunity cost compounds. Every month spent waiting for the old system to reopen is a month not spent building inside the new one. And unlike financial debt, which can be restructured, forgiven, refinanced, time debt cannot be renegotiated. There is no version of this story where the system returns to 2018. The companies that automated will not unautomate. The roles that were eliminated will not be recreated. The pipeline that built middle-class careers for 3 generations will not be rebuilt. Not for this generation, and likely not for the next. This is not pessimism. This is just what structural economic shifts look like from the inside, while they're happening, before the history books sanitize them into a clean narrative arc. The Industrial Revolution looked like mass unemployment and child labor before it looked like prosperity. The internet looked like a dot-com crash and a decade of disruption before it looked like innovation. AI looks like your empty inbox right now, before it looks like whatever comes next. And here is the final truth, the one the system will never tell you. The people who designed this transition, the executives who approved the AI subscriptions, the investors who funded the automation tools, the economists who modeled the efficiency gains, they did not build a landing pad for you. There is no program. There is no safety net calibrated for this specific moment. There is no institution, not the government, not the university, not the corporation, that has a coherent plan for the 4 million Gen Z workers entering a labor market that is restructuring faster than policy can respond. You are navigating this in real time, with incomplete information, with outdated advice from people who built careers in a different economy, with student debt from a credential system that is actively losing its value. So what do you do with that? You do the only thing that has ever worked inside a system that wasn't built for you. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for a job posting that accurately reflects what you can do. You stop waiting for a credential that signals your value to a market that no longer reads credentials the same way. You stop waiting for the economy to stabilize before you start building. You build now, in the instability, inside the gap. Not because the gap is comfortable. Not because the pivot is fair. Not because you owe the system that displaced you any loyalty whatsoever. But because the alternative is waiting, and waiting in a structural shift is not neutral. Waiting is a choice, and it has a cost. The inbox is still open. The cursor is still blinking. The question is no longer whether AI is coming for entry-level jobs. It already came. The only question that matters right now, tonight, at whatever time you're watching this, is what you're going to build before the gap closes. Because the gap closes. It always does. And when it does, the only people on the other side will be the ones who moved while everyone else was still refreshing their inbox.